Hi there, Mark here again, and in this video we're going to be taking a quick look at my latest project, which is this multicoloured TT02 that I've modified for rally. Because it's soon going to become the wonderful Subaru 2008 World Rally Car. But more on the bodywork and all the LEDs that are going to go into this on another video. So unsurprisingly, the main modifications we need to make to this for it to be a decent off-road runner are to the suspension, the ground clearance and the ride height. So in this video I'm just going to focus on what I've done to make those changes and what you need to look out for when you're making these modifications. So let's have a quick look at the chassis. As you can see, the bathtub itself is a pretty rare red. It's the hard plastic version, and all these parts, or the majority of the parts, were sent to me by the very generous Peter Smith of CW01 Creations. If you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. I'll put a link in the description. And as you can see, also sent a few very rare white parts. So we've got some brand new TT02 white parts, including the white CVA shocks. And to get this thing moving a little bit faster than stock, I've fitted an Eco Thrust Absma 15-turn motor. I've got a 12-turn Limit E-Tronics ESC, set of Tamiya 10-spoke wheels which I've sprayed gold to match obviously the Subaru body, and the rest of it is pretty much stock. Now I did an unboxing video of the parts that Peter sent a while back now, and just to prove that this is the best hobby in the world with the nicest people, Mal from WRC, I'll put a link in the description, contacted me, and he sent me a 3D printed part that he printed, which you can just about see here. There's that part there that covers over the webbing and stops all the dirt and debris going into those webs and jamming up the steering. So, and he's even printed it in red to match the chassis. So thanks very much for that, Mal. Much neater than the hot glue trick that I normally use. Okay, so as I said, we're going to focus on those suspension changes, and it shows you in the manual here how to get the high ground clearance, and it's basically by moving this, which is this plastic part here. So basically you just take it from the bottom where it would normally go and put it on the top of the upright, and then we just simply flip the orientation of the rear uprights. I'll just show you that on the real parts. So here's the rear upright, and this is in the position it would normally go, this at the bottom and this at the top, and you can see there the height of where the axle would go, and you just simply flip it upside down. So hopefully now you can see this is the bottom and the axle now is lower, giving you that extra ground clearance, and it's about 5mm difference that makes to the back. So here's your front upright or knuckle, and again your axle goes in there, and this part A8 normally goes on the bottom and sits in the lower wishbone like that. All you do is take that off, put it on the top, and now when this is inserted into the lower wishbone, you can see that now it sits 5mm lower, which is the thickness of that part, and again that lowers down the axle and increases the ride height again by 5mm. But as I'm going to be increasing the length of the shock by another 5mm, there's something we need to look out for, and that's this part here. You can see this lug sticking down on that upright. It's supposed to hit on that lug, and that sort of limits the steering. With that lower arm dropped down slightly more, you can see now that lug is hitting on the actual arm before it gets to that that stop there. So we need to get rid of that, else otherwise we're going to have no steering whatsoever with a little bit more suspension travel. So here's a white upright. It's exactly the same apart from the colour. As you can see, that lug there has been cut off, and I recommend that you do that, else you won't have any decent steering at all. And here's one of the rear uprights. It'll be in this position, as I said, this at the bottom, and what you need to do is cut this lug off here at the bottom, because that will restrict the amount of movement that the lower wishbone can make. You can see on this white one again, you can see that lug has been cut off, and now that lower arm is allowed to go further down without being stopped by the lug hitting on that raised part of the lower wishbone. Okay, so the number one upgrade you need to make for rallying is the shock absorbers. And as you probably know, the standard ones that come with the kit are these, what I call pogo sticks, because basically there is no dampening at all. It's just a spring on a piece of plastic. So what we need to do is get some oil-filled shocks so it dampens the movement of the spring itself. And for that I highly recommend the Tamiya Mini CVA shocks, or Super Mini CVA shocks. Now the standard shocks are 55mm long, and so are the Super Minis. But we want to make a little bit of use of that extra suspension travel we've got with the adjustments we've made. And you can make the Super Mini shocks 5mm longer by just using these longer shock bottoms that are included in the shock set. You can also use the Tamiya Mini CVA shocks, not Super Minis, and those are adjustable between 55 and 70mm long, I think, but they're about twice the cost of the Super Minis. The Super Minis you get a set of 4 for about 20-25 quid, and you only get 2 for that price of the Mini CVA shocks. But just to complicate things, what I've done with this set, because I got the set of Super Mini CVAs but there were no shafts, so I ordered the Mini CVA shafts, and that gave me the extra length without using that longer shock bottom. Anyway, I'll just show you what I've done to mount them and the little problems I had and how I overcome them. So as you can see, I fitted the white Super Mini CVAs on there, and I've built them exactly the same with the longer shafts as these grey ones. But I did have to adapt the way it's mounted at the bottom because there's a small problem with the dog bones. So as you can see, I'm using the stock dog bones and the stock drive cups, and look at the angle on that there, and you can just see that the shaft of that dog bone is very slightly, or just scratching on the edge of the drive cup itself. So if you got the drop of the suspension too far, it will actually catch on the edge of the cup, and the car won't drive properly at all, and you'll soon ruin the dog bone and the drive cups. So with that bottom mount in the top hole of the bottom wishbone, it was just slightly dropped down too far, and those dog bones were catching. And my simple fix for that was just to get your wishbone. You can see the top mount hole there. All I did was drill a hole in the middle there, 2.5mm hole in between those two, and I mounted the shock in that hole that I drilled in the middle, and that solved the problem. So what I've got here is a standard TT02, and this is set up as in the manual for road. So let's just have a look at the difference now with the ride height. Okay, so there they are. I think you can see straight away there's quite a drastic difference there. So if we just have a quick look here, look under there, I can get my hands easily under that. I think I measured it, it's about 25mm is that. And then as a contrast, you know, I can't even get my fingers underneath the road version. And yeah, I hope that demonstrates the difference, and I think that will make a real difference to the off-road running with that extra travel we've got there. Okay, so I've got the suspension set up how I like it now. It's actually on the soft side, which I prefer for road and for rallying, and there's quite a bit of a droop in this now, and hopefully this car, when it's finished and it's got the battery in and it's all got the body on, it should run quite nicely on some rough terrain. Let's have a look at that suspension in action. And one last little thing, what you will need to do once you've got that extra suspension drop is you'll need to put a spacer underneath the steering tie rod. And if you can see in here, there is a 5mm spacer to make up for that extra drop. Otherwise this top arm will be at a really acute angle and the steering won't work properly. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that quick run through the changes I've made to this and those little suspension mods, and I hope to get this with the new body in it and out and running soon. So thanks to Peter Smith again, thanks to Mal of WRC. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye!